Hi there, in this video we are going to go over how to add and subtract mixed numbers. Step 1, you want to estimate using integers. This is optional but highly recommended. If you estimate using integers from the beginning, at the end you can check your answer and make sure that it is within the ballpark that you originally estimated. Step 2, you want to rewrite mixed numbers as improper fractions. Step 3, you want to find common denominators. Step 4, you want to follow integer rules to add and subtract the numerators and keep your denominators. And then step 5, you want to simplify and check your sign. So before I get into this, I really want to just reiterate what the rules are for adding and subtracting integers, right? So for adding, you want to do SAD, same signs add, different signs subtract. And for subtraction, you want to KCC, keep, change, or keep it, switch. All right, so just so that you can remember what the rules are, there they are. So add, SADs, and then subtraction is KCC or KISS. All right, so step 1, we have -5 3/4 plus -3.5. In this case, the common denominators, before I start with common denominators or anything like that, we're going to first estimate using our integers. So -5 3/4, if you round, this would be about -6, right? 3/4 is greater than 1/2, or 0.5. Therefore, I rounded it to be -6. Okay, and then this -3.5 will round to be about -4. And then when you go ahead to add them, you end up with -6 plus -4 is -10. So your answer needs to be about -10, somewhere around there by the end of it. Okay, so then step 2 says we want to rewrite mixed numbers as improper fractions. So before I rewrite using improper fractions, I'm actually just going to rewrite this in general because I don't like the way that it looks right now. So -5 3/4 plus -3 1/2. I would just prefer to look at the fractions without the slashes. Okay, so now we can change these into improper fractions. So 5 times 4, right? That's how you do this. You multiply these guys and then you add these guys. All right, so first we want to do 4 times 5 and we get 20. And then you add 3 and you get -23. So we have here -23 over 4 plus -2 times 3 is 6 plus 1 is 7. So now we have plus -7/2. All right, next we are going to find our common denominator. So between 4 and 2, the common denominator, the least common denominator is actually 4. If by chance you don't see that right away, then multiply your denominators to come up with a common denominator. Doesn't necessarily have to be the least, but that's just one way to come up with a common denominator. So if you wanted to use 8 as your common denominator, that's fine too. I am going to use 4 though, since it's the least common denominator. All right, so we have -23 over 4 plus negative. I'm going to multiply each of these by 2, and now I have -14 over 4. All right, and now since these are the same signs, I'm going to add. So I have -23 plus -14, and that gets us -37 over 4. Now, in order to change this into a mixed number, right, you would do 37 divided by 4. How many times is 4 going to 37? 9 whole times. Okay, and then 4 times 9 gets you 36. So that means that there's 1 left over. And I don't want to forget my sign there. So we have -9 and 1/4. All right, if I look back at my estimation, I estimated this to be about -10. Hey, look at that. it's pretty close. All right, if I ended up with something like a -2 here for my answer, then I know I messed up my integer rules. So the whole point of checking with the integers in the beginning, like estimating with the integers, is so that at the end you can check to see, is your answer close to what you estimated it to be? All right, whoops. Number 2, we have here -7.5 plus 3 1/7. All right, so we are first going to turn these into improper fractions. 2 times 7 is 14, plus 1 gets us 15. So I have here -15 over 2, plus 7 times 3 is 21, plus 1 gets us 22. All right, next I'm going to use my find a common denominator. In this case, if you just multiply 2 times 7, you'll get 14. All right, multiply each of these by 7. So 7 times 15 gets us 105. And don't forget to throw in that negative. 7 times 2 is 14. 22 times 2 gets us 44. Okay, and now we have -105 plus 44. These are different signs, so we are going to subtract, and we get -61 over 14. Now, if you divide 61 divided by 14, 14 goes into 61 4 whole times. 14 times 4 is 56. So there are going to be 5 leftovers to get to 61. All right, so there's my answer. Now, I accidentally skipped the first step, which was to estimate, right, that optional step. So I'm actually going to do that now at the end. So this -7.5 can round to be about -8. And this 3 1/7 can round to be about 3. And now when you do this, -8 plus 3 gets you -5. Hey, look at that. -5 is pretty close, right? -5 is pretty close to our answer here, which was -4 5/14. So I know I got the answer. I know I have at least the right ballpark of an answer. If I were to have gotten about 10, then that means that I did my integer rules wrong. All right. Number 3, I have here -3 plus 4/5. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rewrite this so that the -3 has a 1 underneath, and that 4/5 just looks like this without the slash. Also, estimating using integers, right? So this first one will be -3, right? I don't need to estimate that or round that. And then 4/5 can be rounded to be 1. And so then I have -3 plus 1 is about -2. So my answer should be somewhere around -2 when we actually go to solve this. All right, so my common denominator here is 5. So I'm going to multiply each of these by 5, and then I get -15 over 5 plus 4 over 5. So -15 plus 4 gets me -11. 5 goes into 11 2 whole times with 1 left over. All right, and now if we take a look, our estimate is close to our answer, so we know that we probably have it right. All right, step 4. We can estimate this -1 5/6 to be about -2. We can estimate this -2 2/3 to be about -3, and we are subtracting. So keep, change, change, or keep, switch, switch. And then we end up with -2 plus 3, which gets us +1. All right, let's go ahead and solve now. Actually, I'm going to rewrite this so I can see these fractions a little bit better here. Okay, And now we can start solving. So let's turn these into improper. 6 times 1 is 6, plus 5 gets us 11. 3 times 2 is 6, plus 2 gets us 8. All right. Step 3, we're going to find our common denominator. So between 5 and 3, our common denominator is 15. So 5 times 3 is 15. Negative 11 times 3 is negative 33. 3 times 5 is 15. Negative 8 times 5 is negative 40. Okay, and now we have negative 33 minus negative 40. We're going to follow our integer rules. So we're going to keep, change, change, or keep, switch, switch. We have negative 33 plus 40, which is really the same thing as saying 40 minus 33, which will get us 7. And then we keep our denominator of 15. All right, so our answer is 7/15, and hey, look at that. We have our estimate as 1 here. That is pretty close to 7/15. Okay, now at this point, I want you to pause the video and try these problems on your own. All right, welcome back. Hopefully you took a minute now to try these next 4 problems on your own. Let's get to it. We have negative 3/4 plus negative 2 1/8. So I'm going to round these to be about negative 1 and this to be about negative 2. And when we add them, negative 1 plus negative 2, you get about negative 3. All right, I'm going to rewrite this so I can see it a little bit better. Okay, and then let's solve. So let's do improper fractions first. The first one's already a fraction, so I don't need to worry about that. But the second one, I'm going to turn improper. So 8 times 2 is 16 plus 1 gets you 17. All right, and now I'm going to make them have common denominators. The common denominator between 4 and 8 is 8. The second fraction already has a denominator of 8, but the first fraction does not. So we're going to multiply each of these in the first fraction by 2. Okay, and now we have negative 6 plus negative 17. Since they are the same signs that we're adding 2 negative numbers, you just straight add, right? So negative 6 plus negative 17 is negative 23 over 8. And now you ask yourself, okay, 8 goes into 23 how many times? It goes in 2 times, right? So 8 times 2 is 16. So how many leftovers are there to get to 23? So 23 minus 16 is 7. So you have negative 2 7/8. All right, and now if we check with what we estimated very close. We had estimated as negative 3. All right, let's look at the next one. We have negative 1/6 minus negative 3 2/3. All right, we are going to start off keeping the first fraction. I'm going to actually rewrite these so that I can see them without the slashes. All right, let's estimate. Negative 1/6 is really like 0, right? I'm just going to call it negative 1, but really it would be closer to 0, if anything. Then you have minus negative 4. And when you do that, you do keep, change, change, and you end up with a positive 3. So your answer is going to be somewhere close to positive 3. And again, this would be 0, so this would be rounded more really to 0. So just for just so that I have a number there, I rounded it to 1. Okay, we have here negative 1/6 minus negative 3 times 3 is 9 plus 2 is 11. Okay, next we're going to come up with our common denominator. So the common denominator between 6 and 3 is 6. So I have here negative 1/6 minus the negative. We're going to multiply each of these by 2, and you get 22/6. Okay, negative 1/6 minus negative 22/6. Okay, now we are going to do keep, change, change, or keep it, switch, switch. And now negative 1 plus 22 gets us 21/6. All right, when you divide 21 divided by 6, 6 goes into 21 3 times so 6 times 3 is 18, and then 21 minus 18 gets you 3. So this is actually 3.5, which, not bad. We estimated this to be 3. If I were to have actually kept this as 0 up here, right? If I were to have estimated this negative 1/6 to be a whole number of 0, then I actually would have gotten closer to be 4, which is also close to 3.5. So really didn't matter what number you use there to estimate. Just know that it's just an extra way to check, right? So your answer should have been 3.5. All right, number 3, we have 6 7/10 plus negative 2/3. So 6 7/10, I'm going to actually round that to be about 7. And this negative 2/3, I'm going to round that to be about negative 1. Okay, let's turn these into improper fractions. So 10 times 6 is 60, plus 7 gets us 67. Okay, and now we want a common denominator between 10 and 3. So that is 30. 10 times 3 is 30. 67 times 3 gets us 201. Okay, next we multiply each of those by 10, and we get negative 20. Okay, and now we have 201 plus negative 20, which is the same thing as minus 20, right? So 201 minus 20 gets you 181, and we are keeping the denominator of 30. Okay, next, we're going to ask ourselves, how many times does 30 go into 181? So you're going to divide 181 divided by 30, and that gets you 6. Okay, and then 30 times 6 is 180. So in order to go from 180 to 181, there is 1 left over. So our answer here is 6 1/30, which here, if we estimated 7 plus negative 1, you would have also gotten 6. So our estimate is 6. We actually got 6 1/30. So that's a good way to check. All right, number 4. You want to estimate this first one to be about negative 3. And this next number, you want to estimate it to be about 3. And when you do keep, change, change, you get about negative 6. I'm going to rewrite this so that I can see the fractions a little bit better. And I'm going to turn these into improper. So 5 times 2 is 10, plus 3 gets us negative 13/15. All right, 5 times 3 is 15, plus 1 gets us 16. These actually have common denominators, so lucky for us, we can skip that step and move on. So follow integer rules. We have negative 13 minus 16. We're going to keep, change, change, and we end up with negative 29/5. Okay, 5 goes into 29 5 whole times, right? Because 5 times 5 is 25. And then there would be 4 leftovers. All right, so that is all. Actually, sorry, before I say that is all, you'll notice that we had estimated that to be -6. Our answer was negative 5.5, oh, sorry, negative 5 4/5. So it was pretty close. All right, so hopefully you learned how to add and subtract mixed numbers. Thank you for watching.